You stir before the sun lifts its quiet torch, and the weight of another day presses against your ribs like a lingering night tide. In that thin margin between dreams and duty you admit the weariness lodged in your bones. Yet the hush of first light is also a gentle awakening, an invitation from the one who never slumbers. You breathe the cool air as the eastern sky blushes, recalling that God stays your steadfast strength and unfailing refuge. Here, in this hush, you can loosen yesterday's grip, surrender today's plans, and invite fresh vision to rise within you. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. So Isaiah 40:1, his pledge rises with the dawn, assuring you that exhaustion is not your name, and that heaven delights to trade your weakness for unstoppable resilience. What burden will you entrust to his sunrise today? Which hidden longing will you release so he can steady your steps and flood your mouth with gratitude? Now, as your heart grows still, we step into the quiet path prepared for you. You let your eyes fully open now, tracing the silent seam where night yields to morning, and you finally name what you have tried to hush. You are tired. Not tired in the way a cup of coffee can mend, but hollow in the marrow, thin in places no mirror ever shows. The endless emails, hurried breakfasts, and traffic that coils around every ambition are only the surface. Deeper still are quiet disappointments, stacked like stones behind your ribs. You remember vows you could not keep, petitions that seemed unanswered, and dreams that wilted under yesterday's heat. In this new light, you do not pretend the weight is smaller than it is. You hold it up to dawn like a heavy jar, letting the first rays reveal every fracture so grace can seep in. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So Matthew 11:28, these words are not a distant monument, but a living doorway, flung wide every morning so you can step into relief. Rest is never a trophy for champions, but a gift wrapped in humility for anyone brave enough to admit depletion. The breeze lifts the curtains and brushes your forehead like a gentle hand, and you realize that acknowledging weakness does not diminish you, it positions you for replenishment. Under the pale gold spreading through your room, you survey the terrain of your heart as a gardener inspects wilted leaves before watering. You refuse to hide from what you see: brittle impatience, jealousy glimmering at the edges, cynicism whispering that tomorrow will simply echo today. They stand in the open now, exposed yet strangely smaller in the honest light. What you confess, heaven can cleanse. What you conceal, fatigue will feed. You recall how Jesus, thirsty at noon, sat by Jacob's well and asked a Samaritan woman for water, showing that God incarnate never blushes at emptiness. That scene reminds you that dependence is holy, and need is not a flaw but an avenue for encounter. So you sit, not rushing to recite solutions, not masking fatigue with forced optimism, just breathing, letting each exhale carry a silent confession. In this stillness, the Spirit who once hovered over chaotic waters now hovers over your unrest, whispering, "Let there be calm." And calm begins to form. Birdsong begins outside, small heralds announcing that recognition of weakness is the soil where strength soon sprouts. You do not yet feel the surge of energy, but you trust it has already been commissioned. You see it in the slow unfurling of light across the floorboards. the same radiance that once parted the Red Sea and rolled the stone from a borrowed tomb. You see it in Elijah beneath the broom tree, awakened by an angel bearing warm bread. Fatigue never held the final word for him, and it will not for you. So you whisper a closing honesty. I cannot carry this alone. The phrase rises like incense, mingling with the prayers of saints and sparrows alike. Surrender blooms quiet yet strong within you, and you sense the first tremor of a courage that does not come from caffeine or applause, but from union with the one who sustains galaxies. Your shoulders drop, your pulse steadies, and your soul stretches wide like a traveler finally home, prepared to step toward the day that waits beyond the window. Night loosens its clasp, and a tender hush lingers like a veil over the rooftops while you sit at the edge of the bed, barefoot on cool wood. The air is weightless as first sparrows test their wings, and the pale horizon breathes a faint rose over last evening's slate. In this inn, between hush no demand yet claims you, instead, a holy patience settles, coaxing your eyes to soften. You notice the quiet thrum of your own pulse, a reminder that life's cadence is set by a composer who never hurries. You inhale deeply, sensing sleep's fog retreat and the light's promise glide toward your spirit like silk. Your shoulders roll back, easing knots shaped by countless lists and unanswered notifications. A delicate gleam unfurls across the ceiling, neither harsh nor timid, yet carrying courage enough to lift a kingdom from ashes. You listen, a distant bus grumbles, someone's kettle clicks alive, but beneath the city's low murmur lies a vaster silence that cradles every anxious thought. The Father's whisper rests inside that hush, inviting you to rise from the ashes of fatigue with the gentleness a mother swaddles a newly woken child. You stretch, not to conquer the day, but to greet it, palms open, ready for mercy's slow descent. Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I have put my trust in you. Psalm 143's in 8. These words fall like dew on parched ground, promising that dawn is scripted by fidelity, not by chance. Each new sunrise carries a personal message. Love has already arrived ahead of you, preparing provision and promise in equal measure. Curtains flutter as a light breeze brushes your face, and you rise to draw them wide. Instantly, the room brightens, not with glare but with a luminous kindness that paints every familiar object in new hues. Desk, chair, framed photograph, all look freshly blessed. You lift the window sash and breathe the outside, the scent of damp earth, the distant tang of brewed coffee, the faint perfume of jasmine curled along a fence. Creation itself is stirring, and its chorus sings one refrain. Mercy is morning's native tongue. No shame lingers here, only invitation. You notice how easily your chest expands when judgment is absent, how freely hope swells when comparison is silent. You begin to move, slow, mindful steps toward the sink, the kettle, the open journal, each action an act of worship rather than routine. The small clatter of spoon against mug becomes percussion for gratitude. The steam rising in lazy spirals mirrors prayer ascending before words even form. In that ordinary ritual, a quiet strength unfurls, born not of adrenaline but of abiding. The same power that steadied Elijah beneath the whispering wind now wraps around your shoulders, threading warmth through every sinew. You feel it in the calm precision of your breath, in the newfound steadiness of your gaze, toward the horizon. The day has not yet offered its full weight, yet you sense you will meet it equipped, because the first gift received was gentleness, strong enough to cradle, bold enough to awaken. You remain by the open window until the morning breeze thickens, and in that steady current you sense strength approaching, not as a sudden blaze, but as a tide that quietly fills every hollow. It begins in your lungs, widening each breath beyond the limits of sleep. It flows into your spine, uncurling the fatigue that bent your posture. It moves into your mind, rinsing cobwebbed corridors where doubt once whispered. You are not striving to conjure this vigor, you are receiving it the way thirsty roots drink rain without anxiety. Each inhalation feels like a fresh covenant written on the inside of your ribs, promising endurance no calendar can erode. The Lord is my rock, my fortress and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom you take refuge, your shield and the horn of your salvation, your stronghold. Psalm 18:2. These ancient words pulse with present life, declaring that the very refuge David found in wilderness caves now fortifies your apartment walls and commuter train car. Unseen yet unbreakable, this shelter enfolds every vulnerable corner of your day. You close your eyes, and an interior landscape appears, a vast meadow trimmed with pale gold, where angels pass in silent procession, each carrying a pitcher brimming with power. One by one they pour into the cracked cisterns of your heart until dry places glisten. You feel it tangibly, heat blooming in fingertips, calm electricity knitting muscles, a clear rhythm settling beneath ribs. No alarm clock can summon such renewal, only openness can. You whisper a simple consent, yes, fill me, and heaviness dissolves like mist under rising light. Strength, you realize, is not always muscle or speed. Often it is the quiet capacity to hold joy while sorrow hums at the edges. It is the courage to speak truth without trembling, to forgive before apology arrives, to hope when headlines howl otherwise. This, too, is the power now entrusted to you. You taste its flavor in the first sip of tea, steady and warm, in the confidence that steadies your gait as you cross the room. Even your thoughts stand taller. Cynicism shrinks like shadow at noon. Outside, the neighborhood stirs, bicycles creak, dogs tug leashes, a newspaper lands with a soft thud. Each sound is a drumbeat marking the march of everyday life, yet you move to a different cadence, one synced to eternity's heartbeat. You picture Elijah's stride after bread and water touched by angelic hands, how he journeyed 40 days on that meal. The mathematics of miracle recalculates your own capacity. Tasks awaiting you may still be numerous, but the reservoir within has deepened, its surface unruffled by urgency. You gather belongings, pen, phone, folded list, but they feel lighter as though purpose steadies each item. Before stepping from the window, you glance once more at the sky, the sun edging higher, clouds drifting like delicate sails, birds tracing invisible paths. All creation seems to echo one proclamation: received strength must become active compassion. A quiet promise forms. You will spend today's vigor as a steward, pouring where dryness lingers. With that resolve humming like a low hymn, you turn toward the hallway, heart steady, vision sharpening. The doorway glows with possibility, and you know the next gift waits just beyond its frame. You step into the hallway, and the house feels newly drafted, as if overnight the architect revised every shadow into possibility. Sunlight streams through the narrow window beside the door, slicing golden ribbons across the floor that guide your feet like quiet arrows. In their glow, you recognize an inner lifting of the eyes. Fatigue no longer bows your head. Instead, an expectant gaze rises, scanning the horizon of today with clarified focus. You blink once, twice, and colors appear sharper. The cobalt mug waiting by the sink, the emerald leaf trembling on a balcony vine, the amber grain stitched into the wooden stair. What once blurred under business now sings with intention. You recall the blind man in Bethsaida who first saw people, like trees walking. Then, after the second touch, saw every person distinctly. A similar second touch now rests on your soul. Earlier strength has paved the way for refined sight. You no longer assess the coming hours by their demands, but by the opportunities they carry for kindness, creativity, and reconciliation. The traffic ahead is no longer an obstacle, but a moving congregation of hearts God longs to reach. Emails are not assaults, but invitations to sow peace into digital soil. Meetings evolve from battlegrounds to round tables, where courage can share bread with humility. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. Proverbs 3:5-6. This ancient counsel slides over your mind like clear water, washing away assumptions that once narrowed possibility. Straight paths are not always short. They are roads free of needless detours caused by fear. In this renewed sight, you discern subtler shades. Beneath a colleague's terse reply may hide concern for an ailing parent. Behind a stranger's skull may crouch the weight of unspoken grief. Compassion sharpens your perception, training you to read silences as carefully as speech. Even your reflection in the mirror softens. You see not just imperfections, but the image, bearer still being sculpted. Hope frames your face. The door opens, and outside the sky has brightened to a clean sapphire, clouds stretched thin like threads on a loom. You imagine God weaving the hours ahead with those threads, mercy interlaced with discipline, surprise stitched into routine. You walk down the steps, and the scent of fresh bread from a nearby bakery mingles with the earthy aroma of last night's rain. Every sense widens, gathering data for gratitude. Vision, you realize, is not only sight but interpretation. It is the lens through which all stimuli pass. Today that lens is polished by grace, turning threats into thresholds. A sparrow darts low across your path, landing on a railing. Feathers ruffling in the light wind. It tilts its head, almost as if to remind you of Jesus' assurance that not one small bird escapes the Father's care. You smile, knowing that the same vigilant eye charts your steps. The street ahead might twist, but you will not grope in dusk. Promises line the road like lanterns, each one poised to ignite exactly when the next corner demands light. You take a steady breath, set your shoulders and walk forward, eyes open, heart awake, agenda surrendered. The day awaits your clarified attention, and you are ready to see. Shoes slide onto your feet, and the hallway lengthens before you like a river newly cleared of debris, begging to be traveled. Strength has already anchored your core, but now that power must translate into motion. Steady, deliberate steps that echo purpose across the day. You pause at the threshold, noticing how morning light pools like molten gold on the doormat, as if heaven itself has poured courage beneath the soles of your shoes. The latch clicks, air hums, the first stride lands, and with it a sacred resolve settles. Every movement today will be an act of worship, every task an altar where obedience and opportunity meet. Cars hiss past, yet their noise cannot drown the quiet thunder inside your chest. You advance down the sidewalk, rhythm matching the heartbeat of promise. Each pace declares freedom from yesterday's misgivings, sluggishness, hesitation, self-doubt. Now specks on a receding shore. Your gait straightens as you recall hidden victories already scripted. Conversations where gentleness will prevail over sarcasm, decisions guided by wisdom, not impulse. Small acts of mercy unseen by crowds yet celebrated in the courts of angels. Steps gain momentum when destiny feels near, and right now purpose walks beside you like a solid companion. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Joshua 1:9-9. These words stride beside you, matching pace for pace, reminding you that courage is not an emotion to summon, but a presence to accompany. Fear may lurk at intersections, yet companionship from the Almighty nullifies its demand for attention. Traffic lights blink green, as if saluting your passage, and storefront windows flash reflections of a traveler whose eyes shine brighter than glass. Inside those reflections flickers the legacy of pilgrims. Abraham leaving Ur, Ruth gleaning in a foreign field, Peter stepping onto water, ordinary feet guided by extraordinary promise. Their stories braid into yours, confirming that empowerment is communal. Generations lend you their momentum. You feel it when a door swivels open for someone behind you and gratitude sparks in their nod. Empowerment multiplies through kindness, not conquest. A gentle incline appears, and calves tighten, lungs deepen. The hill does not intimidate, it trains. You turn exertion into prayer. Each exhale releases complaint. Each inhale receives fresh determination. Creation collaborates. Breeze cools sweat. Birdsong keeps cadence. Sun warms backbone. You sense the spirit aligning your inner compass, steering you away from detours cloaked in urgency but barren of value. Phones trill in pockets. Advertisements clamor. Yet discernment filters calls from clatter, guiding you toward engagements that cultivate life rather than drain it. At the crest you pause, surveying streets webbed below like veins pulsing through a living city. From this vantage, hope appears contagious. You imagine ripples of good radiating from every deliberate step. An encouraging text, a patient reply, a decisive yes to justice, a quiet no to distraction. Influence no longer feels abstract, it feels granular, embedded in moments awaiting your footprint. You realize empowered steps are seldom loud, they are consistent, loyal to the narrow path love prescribes. Descending the other side, you notice a child's chalk drawing sun, house, smiling stick, figures. Soft color dusts the pavement, and you avoid smudging it, choosing instead to border the masterpiece with protective distance. Even that small detour bears witness. Empowered feet honor fragility. The day's remaining miles stretch unseen, yet anticipation outshines uncertainty. Should shadows lengthen later, you will remember this climb, this chalk sun, this promise echoing through Joshua's charge. Should voices of exhaustion return, they will find the reservoir replenished, the stride unbroken. You reach the intersection where commerce hums and responsibilities await. One more breath, slow in, steady out, and you cross. Steps sensing with divine tempo. The ordinary street becomes holy ground because purpose walks it in your shoes, and you feel the hush of heaven applaud each move. You reach your workplace door, keycard warm between your fingers, and pause as sunlight pours over the threshold like liquid amber. Something inside urges you to linger, to allow thanksgiving to crest before you cross. Gratitude, once a polite afterthought, now surges forward, a river released from winter ice. It begins as a silent litany breath that returns each moment without demand, limbs that carry intention, senses that translate beauty, mind that can ponder mercy. Each acknowledgement fans a small flame until warmth courses through your chest, spreading outward like sunrise staining a valley. You step inside and every object seems to shimmer with concealed benevolence. The hum of fluorescent lights, the whir of distant printers, even the faint scent of copier toner all testify creation cooperates so your purpose can unfold. Colleagues wave, you return the gesture, and rays of kindness arc between you, invisible yet tangible. Their smiles remind you that community is a sacred fabric woven from countless threads of shared laughter and mutual burden. Gratitude sharpens sight until the ordinary reveals intricate embroidery, dreams tucked into casual greetings, resilience hidden behind spreadsheets, courage simmering beneath quiet hellos. At your desk you trace fingertips along the wood grain, each ridge a silent chronicle of seasons, endured by a tree now offering its strength to support your work. You recall the farmer who sowed beans for your morning coffee, the engineer who calibrated the phone charging beside you, the sanitation crew who cleared streets before dawn. Gratitude spirals outward, linking you to strangers whose unseen labors form the scaffolding of your day. The network of blessing feels vast, and you stand inside it like a lantern newly lit, glass radiant with borrowed fire. Emails arrive, their subjects vary, some urgent, some routine, but you greet each with a whisper of thanks for the opportunity to serve, to solve, to soothe. An unexpected problem surfaces. Instead of tension, curiosity blooms. Gratitude has rewired your reflexes, making space for creativity where panic once nested. You respond with clarity, and the solution arrives swifter than expected. Co-workers notice the peace threading your words. One asks how you stay so calm. You answer with a smile that gratitude is oxygen for weary lungs, and offer a listening ear for their own concerns. Light shared multiplies. Lunch hour edges close. You plan a quiet walk to a nearby park, intending to let the breeze carry further praise. You imagine trees applauding the wind, pigeons cooing benedictions, benches waiting like pews in an open-air cathedral. Gratitude is no longer an isolated emotion, but a governing atmosphere, coloring each idea, infusing each step. Even the inevitable afternoon fatigue will meet a reservoir already primed by dawn's promises, replenished by every thankful breath. Before the next task, you close your eyes briefly and picture your heart as a chalice brimful of golden oil. You tilt it, letting generosity spill into unseen cracks around you, into the cubicle of a worried intern, into the inbox of a friend navigating grief, into the silent corridors where janitorial staff will labor long after sunset. Oil seeps and shines, leaving places only angels count, yet heaven rejoices at each drop. In this posture you finally grasp the secret. Gratitude is not only response but vocation, a lifelong ministry performed in quiet corridors and bustling streets alike. You inhale once more, letting holy warmth swell until it thrones over every shadow, and then you return to work, heart alight, spirit steady, calling fulfilled. Pause now and linger in the hush between prayers and plans. Feel the breath that rises within you like a tide guided by lunar grace. Notice how every fiber is alive with promise, every beat of your heart sounding the drum of divine companionship. You stand at the doorway of new hours, a vessel already filled, a lamp already lit. Let gratitude shimmer, let courage settle, let quiet expectation bloom in the chambers of your mind. Walk forward gently, bearing light, inviting peace, prepared to bless as you have been blessed. Remain here, listening, loving,